guys, thank you for joining in. And today we are going to talk about performance testing through Jmeter. About me, I'm Dan. I do have more than a decade experience in performance testing, and I do also have experience in multiple tools, performance testing tools like Jmeter, LoadRunner, and other tools as well. So today's session is all about performance testing and how we can execute performance testing through Jmeter. So, while talking about performance testing, the number one point which should come to your mind is performance testing is something which normally executed with more number of users. For instance, in terms of functional testing, you execute the test and make sure your requirement or requirement met or not. Say you give an input and you will expect some output, that is expected output. If the expected output is come, then obviously you say pass or failure. In other way, in performance testing world, the performance testing normally executed with more number of users. So it is not about running with very minimal users or one or two users. It's running with more number of users, but it should be realistic to the production numbers, meaning realistic to the business. So I always stress to my students, whenever they talk about performance testing, you please always think about business as well. Business in the sense, the number of users which is present in the real time. So to talk about the description of the performance testing is nothing but running the test with more number of users. I also mentioned here specific load. What does it mean, specific load? That is what I have explained you earlier. Specific is nothing but number of users which is realistic to the production. For example, in production there are around 1,000 users at this point, and they are expecting the business growth maybe 1,300 in the year of 2017, but running with 10,000, 20,000 users is not so realistic. That's the reason why in my first slide it's showing you performance testing run under specific load. So I'm so specific, you should be knowing what is this specific, and we'll be discussing some of them in the coming sessions as well. Any questions so far, guys? Yeah, thank you for asking that question. Why it is also used for monitoring? Yes, it is also used for monitoring because performance testing is not only measuring the application performance, it is also help us to measure the server side and metrics too. We call it as server side KPIs like CPU, memory and disk, etc., etc. So there are other aspects also in terms of the monitoring. So performance testing not only measure the application's capability, it will also make sure the infrastructure capability as well. Okay, so let me move to this slide number 2, where straight away I jump into Jmeter. What is Jmeter all about? Why we need a tool? Even before starting Jmeter, why we need a tool for performance testing? Can we execute manually? Yes, it is possible manually executing, but consider your volume is thousands users. Manually running performance testing using stopwatch or whatever, is possible, maybe 3 or 4 users. That too, you cannot get the consistent results, wherein which the tool, whatever the tool you are going to use it provides you the consistent results. Number 2, you can simulate any number of users, so you don't need to really rely on manual interruption here. You just need to write some scripts and then you need to execute with the number of users, whatever you want to execute. Make sense now? So why Jmeter, or what is Jmeter? Let me start with what is Jmeter. Jmeter is a free source tool, guys. So when we think about free source, obviously it's free of cost. There is no licensing like LoadRunner or any other tools, IBM tools or so. So freeware in the sense it is developed and it is given as an open source software, which is first developed in from the Apache Software Foundation. And it is basically, it was used for functional, then it has a lot of capability to do performance as well nowadays. So you can use performance, you can use Jmeter for any performance testing, meaning any in the sense, I'm not talking about all the technologies, any in the sense, any web applications related systems. So Jmeter is also very helpful to monitor the systems and I mean the resource capability as well. Originally, Jmeter was developed to verify how the web application and its capability. Then later on, it upgraded to support some other systems as well, like uh, database-related systems, EFTPs, and many more. But it is truly a fantastic tool for web-based applications. Obviously, it is a free source, free software and open source software, and also very fantastic use of Jmeter. That is what I'm going to discuss in the next slide. I guess you guys are fine so far. Great. Any more questions, guys? Fantastic. Okay, let me talk about why we need to use Jmeter. Why should Jmeter? Why can't I use other tools? Yes, obviously you can use any tool. You're free to use it, but the thing is, you need to consider about your company's or your business need. For instance, your business team cannot able to not able to sponsor any money for the licensing or have some issues funding on those things. Obviously, the next solution is for you to pitch in with Jmeter. The first one, Jmeter is totally free, guys. Believe me, it's totally free, and nobody will charge you later. And the UI, if you ask me, Dan, you tell me how the UI on Jmeter. Yes, it's very, very easy, user-friendly. One or two screens, and you can easily do all your magic in the having one or two slides. And very, very interesting factor why Java is so good technology, popularly known technology for many people is platform independent. Same way, JMeter also is popularly known for platform independent. Guys, for load runner, we can only install in Windows, wherein which JMeter can be installed in any OS. So it is pure 100% platform independent. And installation, trust me, installation is a piece of cake for you. You know, you don't need to install any exe, so you just need to download JMeter from the Apache website. You just need to keep your downloaded version, and then where you need to click .bat file to just run JMeter UI. Okay, so in coming slides, I'll also tell you what are the ways you can open Jmeter and how it is all open. But let me reiterate what I'm trying to say in this slide. Jmeter is open source, Jmeter is a friendly GUI, and it's a platform independent. And I don't say it's an installation, it's like a download. Unlike another tools, you need to install specifically, you need to see any other installation issues are coming up. Here, it's pretty simple. You just need to install it, but make sure your Java settings are perfect. But okay, that is in the advanced level of sessions I can even show you that. Any more questions, guys? Okay. Okay, fantastic. No questions so far. Good. Dan, you've been telling me, it's an open source tool, friendly GUI, platform independent, etc., etc. Yes, fantastic. That's all fine. From technical aspect, what do you think about JMeter? Do you really recommend JMeter for that? Obviously, guys, LoadRunner or any other tool supports for many users the same way JMeter is also support for as many as users. One thing for JMeter is, you know, uh, again, you need to use different load generators. I will discuss with you guys in the advanced sessions what is load generator, etc., etc. If you want to run with more number of users, you need to, dedicate many load generators. But if that is also possible using JMeter properties, and you can use JMeter servers and slaves, etc., etc. But I know it's a bit complex for you to understand now. In a simple way, load JMeter is exactly like other tools, and it can support any number of users. That's a good news, right? And also it supports many technologies. I would say protocol, uh, protocol is nothing but how a communication between your client and the server. So based on the protocol only, you will make the request correctly and you get the response correctly. You know, you can watch my some other webinar where I have discussed more into protocol. So Jmeter supports many protocols. Very importantly, it supports web applications, that is HTTP protocol, and so nowadays web services performance testings are picking up. Obviously, you are verifying the web application and its UI part. You also need to verify about how your web applications and how your web services behave. So JMeter supports web services alone performance testing as well. And it supports very nice record and playback. You don't need to write a lot of magic codes there, but if at all your project needs, you can write some coding. But at the same time, you record and replay with some fine tuning, like using parameterization, doing some correlations, assertions. A lot of concepts are there in JMeter, but it's all pretty easy to learn. Okay, guys, let me pause for a minute and I'll gather your questions. Any questions, guys? Yep, it's a good question. How JMeter supports, JDBC? Obviously, in JMeter, you need to give the database and its connectivity, but only thing is you need to provide the database driver related files. You need to save it in the JMeter downloaded file location, that is a folder location. That's it. You just need to connect your JDBC with Jmeter, and then your database with Jmeter, and then you need to provide the database queries. Simply it can be executed at the same time. You can run with many number of users. Good. And also the next question is, what do you mean by HTTP? What do you mean by FTP? What do you mean by protocol all about? Guys, each and every application uses some mechanism and it will go through, that particular mechanism to transfer the information from the client machine to server. For example, if you want to transfer the information to your friend, either you speak in English or you speak in Tamil or you speak in Telugu or whatever the language, like in Hindi, whatever the language you and the other recipient know. The same thing, the protocol is nothing but how a client makes a connection to the server by understandable language. Make sense now? Okay, fantastic. So we learn about what is Jmeter and who developed it and how easy it is to use it. And since it is open source, since it is platform independent and supports many technologies, that's the reason why it's all picking up. And many projects, I would say out of 10 projects, 2 or 3, 4 projects are executed in Jmeter. The reason why it is simply a free tool, as well as it allows to provide the details for the development as well. Okay, how does Jmeter works? The next question is, how does Jmeter works? Okay, Dan, you told me what is performance testing and what is Jmeter, why Jmeter is all about, and the second point, the third point is, how does it work? You tell me how Jmeter systems works. 1 second, guys. Excuse me. Yeah. So coming back to here, how does Jmeter works? Jmeter is a simple tool where you can install in your local machine or you can install in your dedicated test environment machine, one of the machine, that from that machine you can reach to your server. Say I use web application in the case of accessing web application for the performance testing. Jmeter simply connect to the web application and makes the HTTP request to the server. In terms of the server, I would always say web server. Jmeter connects to the web server through sending some request like HTTP request, and it will also get the HTTP response. I don't want to confuse you saying what is HTTP and HTML and all. Probably in the advanced sessions you will come to know what is HTTP, what is HTML and all. It is simply Jmeter exactly work like a real-time users. You send your request through browser to the web server, correct? To the web server you are sending your request from your client. All makes sense now? So the same way web Jmeter also sends the request to the server and get the response from the server. That is what needed, right? For example, you work in applications, you are measuring if at all the same way different users, that is called concurrent users, working in the same application by this at the same time, how the application behaviors that can be replicated through JMeters. So JMeter help us to send the request to the server, get the response back. So you can give as many a number of users and then get the response back, right? Makes sense. Application and a test is nothing but the application what you're going to test it. Okay, so I have also introduced a term here, sampler. What do you mean by sampler? Sampler in JMeter is called request. That's it. A simple sample, meaning a sample we are taking. For example, in this case here, we are sending HTTP request since it is a web application. If I want to do some sampling, meaning sampling of performance testing for FTP, then I will use FTP sampler. If I want to use web applications, I will use HTTP because web application are using HTTP protocol. FTP uses FTP protocol. SAP uses SAP protocol, but JMeter does not support SAP. That's a limitation as well. Okay, so coming back to JMeter, the tool. So initially we discuss about what is performance. Number two, we discuss about why JMeter is. Number three, we discuss about how does JMeter works, and also I introduced two terminologies. One is sending a request, etc., to the web server. Number two, the samplers. Okay, now how to launch JMeter? There are many ways to launch JMeter, guys. Launching Jmeter is not at all a problem. You can even do it in your left hand. You just need to go to the downloaded copy of Jmeter. You just need to go to bin directory and just click on jmeter.bat, BAT file. Okay, simply you can click bat file. That is called GUI mode of opening your Jmeter. Number two, I'll tell you the reason why we are opening in GUI mode or server mode and command line mode, etc. But let us first understand what are the easy method to launch your Jmeter. One is GUI mode. It is under bin directory. You can go and click on .bat file and you can get it done. Number two, from server mode. What do you mean by server mode? For example, you are running your Jmeter for your application. If I want to run a load test with more than 1,000 users, will your system is capable enough to do that? No, your systems obviously more than 200 300 users will ping. It means what? Your CPU may go bad, or your memory will go bad, etc. So what is the solution for this? We need to go for using different machines. That is called distributed machines. For example, if I want to do a task, I'm capable to do 3 tasks, but my manager allocate me 30 tasks. How can I do it? My manager cannot allocate like that, right? How can he make sure the work is done? He has to do the distributed way of doing it, right? For example, he has to allocate to the 10 different resources to do 3 tasks each day, so that 30 tasks will be done. The same way, running under a server mode is for the distributed testing in Jmeter. That one you can easily understand when we go for the advanced level of Jmeter sessions, where we will be running more tests with more number of users. Make sense? And also command line mode. Even you can use DOS and then DOS method, and then you can go to command prompt, where in which you can open your Jmeter stuff. So there are simple ways to do it. Let me pause for a minute, and then I will make sure you guys understand this. Okay, great. Yeah, I'll also have Q&A sessions, or you can send me the mail with all your questions. You can reach me, dan@testleaf.com. Okay, let me move on to the next slide. So once you open Jmeter, let me open Jmeter. Excuse me, guys. Give me a moment. Okay, I'm in the Jmeter downloaded folder. So this is how it looks like, the Jmeter downloader folder. I just need to go to bin directory, and then from the bin directory, as I told you, you have a lot and lot of files here, and many uses of this. For example, I know if I want to run my Jmeter, see, I just need to click on, I just need to click on this file once again. Give me a moment, guys. See, whatever you're seeing here is jmeter.bat file, that is Windows bash file, jmeter.bat file. You just need to double click on them to open Jmeter. One second. Yep, I just double click on that. Jmeter will open now. Exactly now. See guys, this is what I want to show you guys. So I just simply went into bin directory. If at all you missed to see them, let me repeat it here. I just need to you guys need to go to Jmeter downloaded copy folder, downloaded folder, and then there you need to go to bin directory. In the bin directory, you just need to click on jmeter.bat file. Once you double click on the bat file, you will get the Jmeter UI. That is called opening Jmeter using GUI mode. Okay, so here we have many items to discuss. Let me go back to my PPT. Okay, so I opened Jmeter. You would have seen my Jmeter, on the open stuff. In the Jmeter, whenever I open Jmeter GUI, I do have two items on it. One is, it's a default items. One is test plan, another one is workbench. What do you mean by test plan? The test plan, don't get confused with your regular test plan. You write assumptions, blah 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 stuff, and risk, what are the items you're going to test, etc., etc. It is, I don't say it's completely deviated from that. Here there is no assumption, no risk. Don't worry about that. Don't get panic on that. Here it is simply, test plan is nothing but where you will add your script. That's it. Simply you will add your scripts along with some elements sense some of the components which will help you to run your scripts. Very simple guys. Test plan is nothing but where you will keep all your settings to execute your script. For instance, if you record your script, that will be saved in test plan only. Please keep in mind, whenever you work on Jmeter, any test scripts you record it, that will be saved in test plan only. Meaning you can only save test plan only. Okay. Then you can also add some of the elements like thread group, timers, etc., etc. That I'm going to tell you what is thread group, timers, etc. Okay, so test plan is the place where you will add elements and you run the test. And second point to note down, test point is the one where your script can be saved. That's it. So workbench, what do you mean by workbench? Workbench is nothing but a temporary place. It helps to be honest, in my practical experience, workbench is help only to record your script, and that script can be moved to test plan. So it is a temporary location. Whenever you save your Jmeter script, the workbench will not be saved. The Jmeter only save test plan only. So workbench is a temporary place where you can save test elements. So basically, whenever you want to record something, that time people normally use workbench. Okay, once the recording is over, that's it, done. Okay, you may be asking me, Dan, you've been telling me elements. What do you mean by elements? Can you give me some brief about elements? There are many elements, guys. We cannot see all the elements at the single shot. There may be a lot of confusing here also. I'll talk about few elements. Guys, let me go back to Jmeter again and I'll show you. Okay, guys. See, I come back to Jmeter here and I do have two components here, two items here. One is test plan, another one is workbench. Whenever you open Apache Jmeter, then you will have test plan and workbench. Okay, so the test plan is nothing but where all your elements will be available and you can run based on the test plan, and test plan only will be saved. Workbench is a temporary place where you can where it will help you to record your script. Okay, let me go back to my PPT. Okay, guys, if you see Jmeter, you can add many elements on that. Okay, I'll show you how to add elements here. Let me go back to Jmeter. Here, if you right click on test plan, you are allowed to add any elements. See, for example, here I just added add threads on the test plan, right click, add thread group. That's it. One thread group is open here. Okay, and same way I can also add many elements here like assertions, listeners, timers, config elements, test fragment, etc. So we can add many elements under test plan. So the test plan is nothing but, I would say in this way, test plan is nothing but collection of elements helps you to run your test. Okay, let me go back to my PPT. Any questions so far, guys? Yeah, that is true. Test plan is the one which will get saved. Workbench is a temporary, it will not be saved even you use any elements, even you have any elements underneath. Okay, coming back to Jmeter elements. Okay, then I see a lot of elements. When you right click on the test plan, I see a lot of elements on them. How do I tackle them? How it is all grouped? Don't worry about, guys, I will make it very easy. Probably, in this session itself I cannot really tell you what are the areas, what are the elements available, complete elements available in Jmeter. I'll just go through few very important elements that you should know. Okay, so under Jmeter you have test plan, and whenever you open Jmeter you will have test plan as well as a workbench. Under test plan you can add multiple elements. One of them is thread group. See, you have thread group and you also have multiple other elements like samplers. You guys able to recall now what do you mean by samplers? Samplers is nothing but provide a sample for each application. For example, I want to send a HTTP request to the server. My application is a web application. I want to send a HTTP request to the server. So how do I send it? My sampler will help. For example, www.google.com. If I want to send a request to Google server, that is a HTTP request, right? It's a particular protocol, HTTP. So that protocol is used there, and that is helping us to send the request from the client to the server. So sampler is nothing but a particular request method for each technology, or I would say each application. For instance, web application using commonly HTTP protocol, FTP application using FTP protocol, database systems using JDBC protocol. Same way, LDAP related using LDAP protocol, web services related application using SOAP protocol, right? Same way. Then don't worry about logic controller at this point. Logic controllers are really used when you record your script. Usually, for my project or for my students, I normally talk about how your recording can be done. I'm going to give you a very simple way of doing in the next session. You can do recording for Jmeter using tool called Jmeter or using a tool called a Bad Boy, or even you can do it through Jmeter. It's a pretty simple recording mechanism, but there are few challenges around, like you need to set up the port number in your browser if at all you want to record in Jmeter. So logic controller is nothing but helping you to do recording. What do you mean by record? Dan, you have been telling me recording, recording. What is that recording all about? Recording is nothing but whatever you are doing manually. For example, any user actions. You do some user actions, that user actions will be captured by the tool. So whenever you need the tool to be re-executing them again, this recording helps. So recording is nothing but you record the user actions. Whatever the user action is done, recording. So on the top of the user action, you can do like you can tell to Jmeter, hey Jmeter, run with 100 users, 200 users for the same functionalities. That you can do it. So logic controller helps you to record the informations. What do you mean with listeners? What is listeners? For example, talk about in a simple plain English term. What is listener? Listener is something will listen whenever you run your test. What it listen? It listen how your response time is. It listen how your throughput is. It listen how your hits per second is. It listen everything and it will tell you. It listen what is a request. It listen what is a response. So listening is nothing but whenever you run it, please make sure guys, whenever you run it. So whenever you run your test, listener will listen it and provide the response back to the users, like Jmeter, uh, who are executing Jmeter. So it can be, it can give you report, it can give you, graph. There are a lot of good things that are available. Like it can provide dashboard also. You can send, those dashboard related information directly to your stakeholders. Then there are some configuration elements. Don't worry about at this point, it's too early for you to understand. So let me recap now. Samplers help you to send a particular request to the server. Logic controllers helps you to record the user actions. Listener help you to get the results out of it. At this point, I'll just move out of configuration elements, going to assertions. Assertions is nothing but checkpoint. If at all you already worked in any functional testing tool, you should be knowing now what do you mean by checkpoint. If at all you don't know what is checkpoint, checkpoints are nothing but to make sure how your response is. For example, I'll take an example from functional testing. You execute a particular test case and you make sure the particular test case is giving you the response as expected. Same way, assertions in Jmeter helps you to make sure if at all you send a HTTP request through sampler, if you send a HTTP request to the server, server is responding you back with expected response. For example, I send a particular HTTP request and I will verify whether the HTTP response is coming back with 200 code. What do you mean by HTTP 200 code? That is a HTTP code. 200 is always success. So I want to make sure I am getting 200. That is possible. I want to make sure I am getting particular text. That is also possible. So assertions are nothing but making sure your response is coming as expected. Then timers. What do you mean by timers? It's a very interesting concept in any load testing tool, and Jmeter is fantastic to handle this. What do you mean by timer? Take an example of real time. In the real time, a guy who executes a particular functionality, will he wait in between the functionalities, in between the user actions? For example, I want to do a make payment for a particular customer. I cannot directly go and make a payment. I just need to search the account and I need to see the balance. After seeing the balance, I need to ask to the customer that, hey, how much amount, how much is the amount you want to pay it now? So there are some delay in between. So even the end user will wait for some time to do the functionality, correct? So the delay time to execute the next functionalities, that is called timers, the delay. That is called, I would say, simple terms. In a simple terms, it's called think time. So we can easily handle this kind of think time, that giving delay between the functionalities or between the user actions, that is called think time. And think time can be easily covered using timers concept in Jmeter. Okay, then the final thing is, processors. There are some processor pre and post processors. These processors are heavily used for the correlation concept. At this point, just leave correlation and all. Correlation is something you can touch base in the advanced sessions that I'm planning to conduct soon. Any questions, guys? Let me recap one more time. JMeter has the default two components. One is test plan and workbench. Test plan is permanent. Workbench is temporary. Under test plan, you can add thread groups. Thread group is nothing but users. For example, I want to run with 100 users. Thread group is a place where you can set up number of users. Sampler is the one you send us you send some samplings like HTTP sampling, FTP sampling, etc., etc. And listeners are the one will give you the reports. Associations are the one make sure your response is as expected. Timers is the one will delay like production systems. Guys, from the first slide onwards, I've been insisting you, please be very specific to the productions. If we are deviating from the production, or if you are deviating from the real users, you are done. Your test results will not be accepted. Fine, guys. Okay. I also want to explain you the very important concept. Then I will go and show you the sample test script, which is developed in HTTP protocol. Okay, guys. Number one, thread group. Thread group is very, very important. Thread group is collection of threads. Don't worry, don't get panic. What is thread and all? Thread in JMeter is simply users. For example, if I want to run with 100 users, I just need to go and set it in thread group. So if you set number of thread as 100, JMeter will create and simulate 100 user requests to the server. Right, so that is a beauty of load test tool, right? So you just create your user actions as a script, you just convert your user actions as a script, and then you will have those scripts with you. And then under thread group, if you change the number of users, then obviously you can run it. Very simple, right? Jmeter. Right. So these slides basically it shows you, what are the samplers we have, like HTTP request and FTP request, JDP request, etc., etc. In my class, I normally go for FTP, HTTP, JDBC as well as SOAP relevant related request as well. So now for the demo, I will take a very simple HTTP request. It is not recording. I'll take a simple HTTP request sampler and also show you how web services also looks like. Okay, so coming to listeners, as I told you earlier, listener is something will give you the report like graphical way, table format, tree format, log format, etc., etc. Okay, yeah. Finally, the configuration elements. Configurations elements helping you to do some parameterization related stuff. So let me explain you what is parameterization. Parameterization is nothing but help you to do with more number of data, help you to seed different data. For instance, in a real time, consider always real time. I'm so interested in real time only. So in real time, end user will not use the same data, correct or not? Same way, you need to also use different data in your test. If at all you are using same data, what will happen? Obviously, number one, it will be cached out. Number two, the test will not be realistic. Number three, obviously, it will not get you the realistic performance test results. If you want to get the realistic performance results, you need to use exactly same like production data. So if you want to use different production like data, you need to go to configuration elements where you need to say, use CSV data cell element, etc., etc., so that you can seed different data through your Excel sheet. Okay, guys? Good. So this is what I wanted to explain you from PPT. Let me go to Jmeter and I'll open one of the script which I have saved already. Let me do this. Test plan, add thread groups here under the thread group. I told you what is thread group. Thread group is nothing but, you know, uh, number of users. For example, if I want to run with 5 users, I just need to give 5 users here. Don't worry about ramp up, ramp down and all. If I want to run with run forever means I just need to select forever. If I want to schedule it, for example, if I want to run performance test for 2 hours, if I want to do stress test for 1 hour, if I want to do a reliability test for 5-6 hours, please guys, if you follow me, I've been telling different type of testing also. But this particular course objective is to tell you Jmeter. So I'll just we'll just take it out this kind of information in the next session. So if I want to run reliability test for 5-6 hours, then I can even do a scheduling here. And you know, if at all there is an error, I can stop the thread in the sense, please keep in mind thread is nothing but users. I can even stop the test, I can even stop the particular thread. It means if I am running with 5 users, it means 5 threads. I can, if at all one user get into problem or one thread is getting into problem, that particular thread I can stop it, or I can even stop the complete test. For example, if I'm running with 100 threads or 100 users, 90 users are failing, then I need to stop my test. If at all I'm running with 100 users or 100 thread, only one users are failing for some reason, then I can even stop the thread and fix it, and then I can rerun also. But this is all based on the, you know, the situation to situation. So how do you do that? How do you take it up? So in this case, I can change the thread group also. Thread group, I would call it as realistic name, that is users. So my thread group is now users. Okay, so I have created thread group. I just need to, as I told you, I'm going to use a web application, that is gmail.com. Okay, so www.gmail.com. So I need to, for sending any request, what I need to use, samplers. That's good. So I just select sampler HTTP request here. So in sampler, I just need to provide the server name. What I need to provide server name is, don't worry about giving www. Here you just need to give google.com. Okay, and path, just say slash. That is more than enough. I'll tell you why slash and etc etc. For example, if at all I want to go to Google, I want to move into another link which is in Google, then you can also provide with, you know, slash. For example, from Google I need to go to index.html. That is possible. Okay, so that way we can provide. At this point I just give, you know, google.com. So once my request is done, and then next thing is I just need to go here and I need to add what? What is the next one? I can do listeners. Listener is the one what? It will give me the output, right? Listener is the one will give me the output. So I gave the request here and I gave the, you know, listeners also here. I just need to simply run it. So in this, I told you, see, this is the HTTP request. The first one is the thread group, second one is the sampler, third one is the listener. So what I use here, I simply use, I'm just showing you a simple script here. I just created a thread group. The thread group is nothing but number of users that you can set it. Number two, I have added a sampler like HTTP request. I'm going to use HTTP request to the server for the application. The application what I choose is www.google.com or google.com. Here I just need to provide the URL address here, and I just need to add the listeners. As I told you earlier, listeners are the one help us to get what? The reports, graphs, etc etc. So let me run it now. Let's see. So when you click on run your script, it will ask you, you should save your test plan before running it. At this point, if you want to save it, yes, you can save it and you can do it. Else you can just click on no. It will just try to run it. Did you see this, guys? So what I see here, I have what I have here, I have the sample in the sense how many times we want to execute. Guys, please remember, let me go back and remind you, number of users what we have is 5. That's the reason why I have 5 samples here. 1 2 3 4 5 5 samples, and it is also saved what is the start time, right? And also the thread name. The thread name is here. See, first user, first time. second user, second time, third, fourth, fifth. It is all executed now, right? It randomly picked and ran it. The label is HTTP request. See, this is a HTTP request. I can even say Google homepage. I can even change the name of the HTTP is Google homepage. For other page, I can give different names now. So the label will change. What is sample time here? Sample time is nothing but the response time of clicking or opening Google page by, you know, 5 users. For example, 5 users are hitting Google at the same time. What will happen? Okay, so 5 users are trying to hit google.com, and that is the response time available here. That is what displayed here. Status, that is in green color, it means what? It is all passed. Bytes, what do you mean by bytes here? For example, when I click www.google.com, it will return many objects, many text, etc., etc., right? Everything will be converted as bytes. So these are the number of bytes it is received. Here it is also called as throughput. Okay, the latency. What do you mean by latency? So this one I need to explain in a detailed way. Latency is nothing but, see here, 4800. I would take the sample 1. The response time for sample 1 is 4839, meaning downloading all the objects, downloading all the text is 4839 milliseconds. It is in milliseconds or 4.8 seconds. Right? If you convert them into seconds, that is 4.8 seconds. Wherein which, what do you mean by latency? Latency is nothing but when you click www.google.com, a first text or first image or some response from the customer will come to you first, right? That time, the time for getting the time taken for getting the first response from the server, that is called latency, meaning time to get the first byte. That is called latency. So we'll see when we started getting the response from Google server is taking 4.5 seconds, but completing all of the responses, it's taking another 0.3 milliseconds. Correct? Around 300 milliseconds or so. So that is how we need to understand this. So in analysis, while you do analysis of results, this is playing very important role. At this point, you just understand that is the time taken to get the first byte from the server. Okay, what do you mean by connect time? Connect time is nothing but when you make a request to server, how long it takes to make a request to server. Meaning your client, how long it takes to reach to server. Okay guys, so that's all about it on HTTP request. Let me also open and show you. So let me recap now real quick. I have test plan and workbench. Under test plan, I have opened a thread group. I changed the thread group as users. Obviously, it is more relevant name, and I have inserted 5 users here. Give input as 5 users, and then I have created one sampler, that is HTTP sampler. I renamed as Google homepage. You can create multiple samplers so that you can do your performance testing for different link also. And then I've opened created another listeners, that is called view results and table, so it can give you in table format also. Now I can delete the results file, I can clear it. See, it's all clear now. I can even rerun it. I can see what it is showing now. See, the label is changed as Google homepage. Same way you can also create it for other labels, and then you will get it, other URLs, etc., etc. Okay guys, clear now? Fantastic. So now you see the latency is 146 and sample time is 424, and the connect time is 61 milliseconds or so, something like that. So if you know this information, so that you can confirm back whether the response time is as expected or not. This is one of the performance metrics what you need to provide to the stakeholders. So for clear guys? Okay, fantastic. Now let me do one thing. I will wait for you guys to ask some questions. I will pass for some time. Thank you. Any questions guys? Good. Let me repeat what is bytes. Bytes is nothing but the throughput, meaning number of bytes received as part of this request. Right. Yes, users are called here as thread. So whenever there is a term called thread comes here in Jmeter, please understand them as users. One second, guys. Let me also open one more sampler, that is web services samplers. What do you mean by web services, by the way? So web services are nothing but playing as a mediator between two technologies. For example, your application, the front-end application may be developed in Siebel, and the back-end applications may be developed in, the database may be, the older version of it, maybe traditional storage mechanism. So in that case, you can use web services to communicate to different requests. So now let me share with you guys. I have opened a sampler test plan here. Please confirm me whether you're able to see my screen. Okay, fantastic. So here, by this time, you should be knowing what it is. I have test plan. I have a thread group. Thread group is nothing but users, and I have created some samplers. Right? Don't worry about all the samplers. I'll make it very easy for you guys. I have one sampler that is called SOAP XML RPC request. See, I just need to go to, you just need to go to add, go to samplers, then you need to select SOAP XML, meaning what? This is what I told you, right? XMLs or web services are traveling through SOAP protocol. So this is for one of the sample application where I have taken XML for finding out the weather for the city. So here for the country at least. So here I have chosen the URL address. I just need to feed in URL address here. I just need to send the particular SOAP actions related headers, and this is my XML. I got it. In my next session, I will tell you how you can open those sample application, how you can get the XMLs, etc., etc. But this particular webinar is giving you a simple objective, that is how you can work on Jmeter and what are the elements you have in Jmeter. So one of the critical element what we saw is the thread group. Second one is what? Listeners. Third one is very important one is samplers. From the samplers you can send any request. Samplers can be HTTP, can be FTP, can be XMLs like SOAP, etc., etc. So if you want to see any results out of it, you need to use listeners. It's all very important. In my next sessions, I will also show you guys assertions and config elements and do correlation, etc. But this time, I want to show you, I want to give a heads up. This is how Jmeter looks as. It's very user friendly. I just want to prove it also. So now I have added a web service that is called, getting the weather based on the city, based on the country and city. So now I can run this. I have also added some other samplers also. That is also helping me to get the web services executed. But now to give you brief, to make you to understand easily, I gave one XML, and that XML will pull me the city and its weather report. So I have added one listener here, and also I added one config element. That config element will help me to seed different data like city, state, and country, etc., etc. So config element can be added in the same way. Go to thread group, right click, add config element, and then CSV data config element. This CSV data config element help me to get the data from the Excel sheet. Please listen, guys. Please look at this carefully. Here I have a file name called csv_config_parameter.csv. It means what? This particular file, this particular Excel is available in my bin directory directly. See, bin directory is from Jmeter folder. the installation folder. So that folder will have the CSV bin folder, and I'm directly using that folder to get the data. In that folder, in that XML, sorry, in that Excel, I have all the data needed for this particular XML to be executed. So this particular XML need country. See here, this particular XML need country. So this particular XML get the data from the CSV file which is available in the bin directory. I just need to simply run this, go to view results tree. See, it's passed now. I just need to click on particular request. I need to see a request. See, this is the request. Country name is picked from the Excel sheet, that is India. See here guys, this particular XML, if you look at the XML here, this is parameterized. Okay, that's what I told you. In the next sessions I will talk about parameterization, but here it is country, right? This country, if I go with for dollar country, then it is a parameterization. This parameterization value is picked up from the Excel sheet, and this is how it looks like. So it's picked up India. Now if you go and see the response, see from India, it will pull all the city. India, like Ahmedabad, what are the cities? You have everything in India. Okay, this is how your SOAP XML works. So we just scripted the SOAP XML. Now we can go to thread group and we can run any number of users, say 100 users or so. Okay, but it is based on your system capacity here, etc., etc. Make sense, guys? Hope you have learned about how a basic Jmeter script looks like. It should have test plan, it should have thread group, it should have sampler, it should have listener to view the results, right? So there are other areas also you need to focus, how to debug the script, how to make sure the checkpoints, that is associations are implemented, how to make sure the parameterization is correctly placed, how to make sure correlation is done, and how to run under distributed mode in as per the real time. And there are other challenges in the analysis, how to get the analysis report, how to add the plugins, so many items, but it's all very fun to learn. Jmeter is a simple thing, a simple tool to learn, but at the same time you need to have a performance mechanism and performance methodologies as per the real time. So if you know how performance is being executed in the real time from real time performance perspective, then it is pretty easy tool for you to learn it. At the same time, without having performance background, you may need to get a real time experience, meaning knowledge or knowledge transfer from the real time people. Okay. And I am Dan. Again, I'm repeating it. I can be reached to, you can reach me through TestLeaf marketing team. You can talk to TestLeaf team for any other questions. Thank you so much.